Good afternoon. I'm here to tell you, my name's Jay Johnson. We're at the St. John Lutheran Church in Royal. I'm here to tell you that this Thursday is National Day of Prayer. And why is that a big deal? Because this last week in church we talked about when Jesus had walked through the thresholds into the temple. Peter and John went through the thresholds into the temple, and the crippled man went in there. And what's the thing we can do is we can go into God's house or wherever we're at and offer prayers. That's what God wants more than anything. So I'm just going to ask you, please be aware that this Thursday we're going to have National Day of Prayer. If you don't want to come to church, obviously you can't. But if you want to pray, if you have a petition, give me a call, okay? And if you want me to pray with you, I'll be happy to do that. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Bye now. Good afternoon. I just wanted to share a couple things we had spoken last week in church. My name is Jay Johnson. We're here at the church in Royal. Last Sunday we talked about Acts chapter 3 when Peter goes in. He meets with the guy, the cripple that's sitting at the gates at the Gate Beautiful. We talked about that last Sunday, and I mentioned the key word that was the word threshold, because this beggar was sitting there at the threshold of just ready to go into the temple complex, ready to go in where the courts were, the men's temple, the men's court and the women's court. But he never went in because he couldn't walk. I mean, they could have carried him in, but under his own power, he never actually walked in. Jesus had been there a number of times. I mentioned Jesus as a small boy, ever since he was born and raised. He was taken into the temple complex at the age of just 8 days. And every year, at least 3 times, according to tradition, they always had to go into the temple complex. So he did that a number of times. Peter and John did that because they were good Jewish young men. And as you get older, men and women both would go into the temple complex. This guy never went. This cripple never went. And I made the comment, I said that Peter and John, their spiritual life, they had crossed the threshold between just, I'll say, attenders of services, and then they came through this threshold where they were, oh yeah, the Son of God is talking to us. Now, Jesus knew that, and undoubtedly there are many people. We know that Jesus, when they took him in for his dedication, Simeon was there and Anna were there, and these 2 individuals had been there for years and years and years, and God had told Simeon, you will not die until you see the Lord's Messiah. And he was overjoyed. And so he said, let your servant depart in peace, for mine eyes have seen thy salvation and the glory of your people Israel. So he saw this Jesus. So that same Jesus went in and out. And so Peter and John had this opportunity. And when they led this man in, he was just jumping around like doing handstands. I don't know, but he was pretty excited. So over the week, thinking about this, I was thinking about what causes us, why do we go to church? Well, little story. Some years ago, this is long ago, before I met Jackie, so Jackie knows this story. Before I met Jackie, there was a young lady I was seeing, and she said, hey, would you like to come to church with me? And I said, yeah, sure, let's go. So we went, and she said, a bunch of my friends are going to come, and afterwards we're going to go to IHOP, International House of Pancakes. We're going to go out to eat, and then, but that's after the service. So I said, great. So we got ready. We went in, and big church. It was a cold day. It was really cold outside. Everybody had their heavy coats on, and we walked in, and I looked around, and there was no coat rack. I was kind of, well, that's too bad. So we walked in, we sat down in the pews, and the service began. Went pretty quick, pretty fast tempo. They lit the candles, and they had the beginning of the liturgy, and there was a 3-minute homily, a 3-minute short message, about 3 minutes that the priest gave, just short. Then after that, there was a few more things, and they had a communion, and then very quickly the service was over, and we walked out. People got in their cars, and we went in various cars. We all rendezvoused over at the IHOP. We're all sitting around. There's probably about 12, 15 of us kind of gathered around those tables. And so I was the first, they just met me that day, these guys and the other ladies, young ladies there. And as we sat and talked, they said, "So, what did you think of our service at our church?" And I said, "Well, it was okay." Well, they said, "What's your hesitation?" I said, "You know, what really bothered me, there wasn't a coat rack." And they said, "What? What are you talking about?" I said, "There was no coat rack." "Well, what's that got to do with it?" I said, "Quite a bit. You see, when I go to church, I want to take my coat off, hang it up, walk in and feel comfortable. Because I'm prepared. I want to hear the sounds, I want to hear the music, I want to savor the singing. And when the preacher gets up, I want to hear what he's going to say." And quite frankly, it was over like that. I didn't even have a chance to get comfortable because I was crammed in those seats with my coat we were just shoved in. It was cold outside. I had the heat turned down. We're sitting there, and it seemed to me like everybody was just, before they even got in there, they're already thinking about taking off. And as I looked around, that's exactly what all these younger people were saying to me, like, "Yeah, that's kind of it." And I was disappointed to hear that on their part, because I really was looking forward to the message that day, because I wanted to hear from that different experience, but didn't happen. And so even today, I don't know why, but every time I go into church, I'm just checking to make sure there's a coat rack around there so I can hang my coat up when I need to. I just wanted to share that with you because I think that we are called to be crossing a threshold into a place where we not only want to feel comfortable with ourselves, we want to entertain the thoughts that God would have us learn that day in the surroundings there and in the people there. So just wanted to share that with you because we do have thresholds, and at certain times in lives we don't get those, we don't cross those when we would like to. So thanks for stopping in. I'll see you next week, or I'll see you in a couple days. Take care. Bye now.